Welcome back to 50-50. Actually, the Friday 50-50.
Friday.
It's Friday. No, it's not. It's Saturday. Don't give the game away. Because we definitely didn't give it away on the one with the doorbell ringing. We'll talk about that in a moment, but I just want to say before we do, I was completely committed to feeling miserable this morning, and I arrived and you opened the door and said good morning. I went, oh, God damn it, now I can't be as sad as I was going to be because I felt good as soon as I saw you.
That's my gift.
It's a pretty good gift.
Yeah. Can't do anything else in the world, but I can do that.
Oh, cut it out. You've got so many gifts. But actually it's funny because I was thinking about you because I arrived with virtually my nightie on, hair in a bun, no makeup. I'd woken up 10 minutes before I was meant to leave the house to get here. And so I was getting ready in the bathroom and in your beautiful bathroom, and I was thinking about you, and of course, I know you more broadly than the role you do here, but I was thinking about, the service you provide and the love you provide, everything from, I rocked up last time and in the bathroom was the little glass spray with the wipe so I could clean my glasses.
It made me cry.
Oh, but it's so beautiful. It's such an experience.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, particularly, for a lot of us, we haven't experienced that level of care. So it's
doing is my love language.
Well, it's very healing, I can tell you now. I'm glad you felt it. That's so true. Yeah, you're really wonderful to work with. So I mention it partly. What was that?
So are you.
Oh, thank you. I mention it partly as an acknowledgement, but also because I wanted to let people know what it's like to work with you in case you have any spaces left for using your studio, right? Because I know we can't have many people, and I know you might only have – do you even have space for one more person?
Maybe one.
Okay.
In January.
Okay, maybe
Depending.
one. All right. Well, if anyone just heard that and went, there's my calling, get in touch because honestly, it's quite the experience, let alone no one, of course, sees the rest of your house, which is gorgeous and so wonderful. When guests walk in, they go, where am I?
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. And
You're
then,
making me squirm.
Okay, all right. I'll stop making you squirm. But, if anyone just heard that and went, oh, I'm the one. I'm the one.
I'm the one.
I'm the one. Get me in there. Yeah, wonderful.
We'd love to have you.
Yeah, we'd love to have you if you're exactly the right fit and the energetic balance. But don't feel any pressure. We'll likely love to have you. Well, of course, if people really feel it in their heart, they will be the right match, right?
Yeah,
because
I think so too.
it's easy.
You resonate with people.
You resonate. It's like, when you go on a first date or when the biggest lesson I ever learned actually was feeling that feeling when you get a flatmate. So when I was younger and had flatmates, pretty much, if it was a friend, it was one thing. But if it was a stranger, if you met and kind of went, oh, yeah, like that, everything would be fine. But one time I thought, oh, no. And it was when I was working in Sydney and I had a very expensive rent and I was scared of that rent, and someone came to ask if they could be my flatmate, and everything in me was like, no. And I said yes. And it was freaking horrible, man. It was like single white female, but that reference is too old for a lot of people. Basically, I felt like I said yes to a bunny boiling stalker to move into my house. It was awesome.
Yeah, and you just reminded me of Cindy's episode where she's like, you got to trust that feeling. And how often do we not trust that feeling when we get it?
It reminded me of Cindy's episode too.
Yeah.
You beat me to it when she was going to go on that zip line and everything
was
was
saying,
like, no.
So I'm trying to listen to that feeling more. How about you?
Yeah, I am. Sometimes I find where the message is coming from can be a little bit confused. So often it's exactly right and it's often the thing to do, and it's often the little voice, the quiet little voice that Kate DeJong mentioned in her post that then I wrote my poem back to. And yeah, it's sometimes I find it's tricky to figure out what's what, but often the no is quite clear.
Strong. Yes.
Yeah. The no will
I
be
get a very
strong.
strong no, and then logical brain goes, oh, Danielle, don't be such a bitch. Don't judge people too soon before you know them.
Yeah,
We're really The no was the no.
The no was the no. It's like someone told me the other day, I met a lovely woman, and she said, we went and had a look for houses, and the first house we loved, we knew it was ours, but then we thought, you can't go with the first. How often have we done that? You can't go with the first one. When
And then you come back and you missed out.
Right?
Yeah.
And you go, oh, no. Like those shoes that were in Good Sammy's in Midland, and I saw them and I thought, oh, what a miracle that they're in here. I'll go home and think about it.
At Good Sammy's.
At Good
What were they,
Sammy's.
like $5?
$5, and they were just, and of course they were gone. Or when I did my stall at DAF, I did my garage sale at Darlington Arts Festival.
How was that?
It was very
that.
interesting. I don't even know if I talked about it on here. I know I talked about setting it up and then realised I was getting lost in my to-do list, but I don't know if I talked about it afterwards. It was an experience. It was an experience that I will never do again, and I'm glad I did. So even after the price of the marquee, the U-Haul trailer, which was mind-blowing, it was $70 for 3 hours for a little cage trailer.
Right.
Everything else cost-wise, including me and Sam spending like there was no tomorrow at the actual Darlington Arts Festival, but we still came out $200 ahead.
Oh.
So it was very
I'm surprised.
Me too. Me too.
Because there was a lot of setup and...
He and I spent more money there than the setup. There were so many beautiful things. I was like, well, now I've got to shop.
Yeah.
Oh, including this dress.
Oh, is that where you got that dress? I love that dress.
So there's it's not fair to call it secondhand clothing. It is secondhand clothing, but there's a woman in Darlington who's a very clever cookie and loves colours. She's a colour expert, when you have your colours done.
Yeah.
And I'm a bit stubborn about such things. I'm like, no, I'm going to wear whatever colour I want. But, of course, you do look better in. Like, if I wear green, everyone goes, that's so beautiful. Of course, I get it. Yeah. Anyway, she has a lot of designer things that people put in on consignment and then other people can buy. And this was one of them. And I just really loved the colours. Pink I'm obsessed with, as you can tell.
So stunning.
I was going to show my shoes again, but Grayson gets very upset. I won't show my foot. I'll just show the shoes. Okay, here we go.
It just sits so perfectly. Yeah, nice.
The toenails are still the same as last time. This is totally not podcast worthy. Last night, I go to put something in the bin and put on my plasticky, beach walky kind of sandals.
Yep.
They'd been sitting in the sun and they'd shrunk to the point where they fit Sam.
I think that was possible.
I went to put my foot in and I thought, I know I've put on weight, but I don't think your feet get bigger and longer. Yeah, and then I said, Sam, try these on. He goes, perfect fit. Shrunk. Yeah, these plasticky kind of sandals. Anyway, that's cutting edge information everyone needed. So DAF was fine. I got the dress. Oh, it's called the lady's called Colour Me Kate, and
I think I've heard of her.
Yeah. She's in Darlington, very well known, and has a real passion for what she does, and really creates beauty. With the clothes. I think she has a podcast too. She certainly
such admiration for people like that. I don't have that skill, so I really admire people that do.
What do you mean, the artistic visual skill?
And, the beauty and the
ability
to put things together.
That's like my version of that is I love people that can create a space in a home, kind of like you guys did here, right, where they create a space. When I walk in, I go, imagine having the mind that could start this from scratch. Yeah. So what I have to do, if I want something to be beautiful, I have to look at what someone else has done and replicate.
Right, really?
But, I can't walk into a white room and go, I can see it. Or the only reason I can see it is because I've seen what someone other clever cookie has done. Yeah, amazing. Actually, a girl I worked with about 27 years ago and I was still friends with, she ended up moving into interior design, architecture, that type of thing. And when I said to her, why'd you go there? She goes, it's because you asked me, Tamara, when we were first working together, what do you really want to do? Isn't that amazing when something like that happens? And you go, wow, that was no skin off my nose. And you got like the direction you wanted to go.
One of the hardest questions someone will ever ask you, I think.
So I was committed to being upset this morning, and then you were too nice to me and I felt better. Sorry. It's all right. I can get back to it. I was very committed. I can get back to it. So, yeah, I had a well, look, did I have a hard few days? It felt like I had a hard few days. So I was really at the top of the 50-50 the last little bit of time. Felt like the roller coaster was more up the top of the roller coaster. And then I was feeling good, man. Like last time we saw each other, I'd been on my wonderful trip to Queensland and, yeah, all was well. And then do you believe in the thing about threes? Things come in threes? Do you think it's superstitious BS?
No, it seems to happen that way.
It does seem to
but
happen.
I don't think about it. But then when the third thing happens, I was like,
go,
oh my God, that
hang
was
on,
three.
that was three. So, yeah, I felt like I had three. So I gave a talk, and I won't say where, as usual, but you just said, isn't it hard to get the answer to that question? Like, what do you want to do? And what happened was, in this talk, I was talking about feeling good in one's role. But very early on, I asked people to think about their why. Why do you do this role? And a very strange energy came across the room, and I kind of didn't let them talk about it for too long and interrupted, and I said, wow, when I asked that question, a minority started enthusiastically talking to one another. There was several atomic eye rolls in the room, and I kind of had to say, oh, I wonder if this role isn't really fulfilling that for you. It might be more about paying the bills. And then we stayed in that strange energy for a little while, and then I moved on and talked about other stuff. And I think people came back, but it was quite the strange experience with a very large group and assuming they would have their why, their big why. Very naive, actually, right?
Yeah.
Very naive of me.
Yeah.
I hate when I make mistakes and learn from them. It's meant to be, oh, it's so awesome. I stuffed up. Look at what I've learned. No.
Oh, no, I don't see that as your stuff up.
You don't?
No. God, in today's day and age, with all the information we have, the podcast, the self-help, the whatever, if you haven't started that,
The why journey.
how do I make myself a better person and done some work? Sorry, I'm being very judgmental here.
You always make me feel better because I love it. Go for it.
But, yeah, it surprises me how many people – no, sorry, I shouldn't be surprised because I was one of those people.
Yeah.
It's scary. It's just too fucking scary to even contemplate your why sometimes. And that is true because I didn't get to my why till something very major happened in my life.
Yeah.
So I would still be that person reading the self-help books and not actually doing anything about it.
It was a very useful moment to go, hang on, what just happened? And it was an unexpected moment. And then looking at the reaction, I was like, oh, it's sort of brought up I'm guessing, but for a lot of people it felt like it brought up a combination of pain and also cynicism, like, fuck right off asking me that question. I've got kids to feed, man. But you just made me think of something else. You said it wasn't your fault if people haven't looked at their why. Oh, yeah, I just had to throw in my hatred for Simon Sinek, as I like to do. Yeah. So, of course, I hate him because he says everything I say, but he's got 20 million followers.
Yes.
And I know you love him. Everyone frickin' loves him. Well, of course they do. So he's the why guy, right?
Oh, I don't like his podcast, though.
Oh, I haven't listened to it.
Oh, really? It's too short.
Okay.
He gets really good people on there
Yeah.
and then gives them like 20 minutes. And I'm like, no, I want to hear more.
That's a very good argument for our podcast that goes on forever. We are fulfilling your mission. But no, that makes sense to me that 20 minutes wouldn't be enough for a good guest.
People do, for like the when you ask about the why and they're not ready to look at it, deal with it, they may have had it pining away inside of them and they've shoved it down so deeply. And then you're saying, oh, why don't you just have a look at that? And they're like, no.
Well, you know, when I left, and of course I'm making all of this up, like it could have been fabulous, but normally I'm pretty good at reading the room and I really think we went up and down in that talk. But I remember when Peter Slocum here said, you know, sometimes if you raise something that people don't like, the evals won't even be good because they've got a shock or they've got something to think about.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. One lady that I spoke at Women in Mining, I don't know if I shared it here or not, but it was super funny. Like I finished my talk, that one went well. You could tell it went well. And as I was leaving, this lady came up to me and said, I really wanted to hate your talk. Yeah, tough woman. Yeah. And I said, oh, yeah, why was that? She goes, oh, my God, what's my why? Because that whole topic was knowing your why. And she goes, my why is I want to feed my kids and pay my mortgage. Yeah. And because I had been actually, interestingly, in that talk, I was much louder about recognising that people's why might be more around just surviving. Whereas in this latest one I did, I was like, hey, what's your why? Like that, you know. I just heard a noise that sounded like a phone and I'm praying. Grayson's pointing at my phone. I'm going to burst into tears. No, I'm not. I can be strong.
Yeah.
Can I just apologise, Danielle, on behalf of myself and my family for that mobile going off? And can we not talk about it after, like last time?
Hey, the doorbell was on me last time,
No,
so you were allowed
segue.
to have a phone beep because I let the doorbell go
I've
off.
already had a phone go. That's my second phone. You've only had one doorbell. Plus, Grayson and I decided, so timing's always funny with this, right? Because we have just released the podcast where the doorbell goes off. We've recorded another one since that won't have come out yet, and now we're doing this one, right? So we're kind of leapfrogging. But I was all comfortable. Yeah, let's put it out with the... And then I watched it and I went, hang on. So first what happened was, so what we're going to do now is, you know, people requested pod coach.
Oh, yes.
But we haven't found a coachee yet.
Yeah.
Probably because we haven't really looked. People are just really reluctant. I haven't asked one person.
We haven't asked anybody.
No one. But it turns out I'm going to be our first coachee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I won't move from like pretend to be me and then someone else because it'll ruin the sound. But it was so uncomfortable. I watch it, like it happens at the time. Grayson and I are laughing.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Then I watch it again when I watch the rough cut, like as we're prepping, and I go, oh my God, like what am I up to there? Get a sort of realisation, hang on. Then we go, yeah, let's put it out to the world, let's publish it. And then I watch it again, because you know how I skew our numbers by watching everything 17 times. But it got worse and worse. Honestly, I was like, oh my God, like it was a case study in projection.
Really?
Oh, so what happens is, I'll just run us through it in case it's useful for anyone, right?
Yeah.
It's embarrassing for me, but what's 50-50 meant to be about, right?
Yeah.
So may as well do it. So what happens is the doorbell goes. I don't really think anything of that apart from, like, you know, there's the doorbell, right? And then you go, it's the doorbell. I go, well, we better wrap it up. And then as is instructed by Grace, and if anything weird happens, we pause to allow him to do the edit.
Yeah.
So you pause, but I get triggered because you're not reacting to me, which is one of my triggers. And I go, why are you pausing like that, right? Why have you stopped moving, right? So I'm already upset, but not recognising I'm upset. Then you go to do the doorbell, right? And I go, what the hell? So I'm still reacting, right? I talk to camera for like 1 second and go, well, it's just us now, you know. Then you come back and I said 3 things in a row. I go, I think you were left when I said, well, we've learnt about Danielle's need for perfection. Then you come back in and I say something else. I go, we're still recording, Danielle, like shitty. And then I say, I think we've got a coaching opportunity.
When you say it like that.
It was so bad. And you said you didn't see your emails yesterday because you were busy, but on the last one I sent you, I said, oh, my God, I'm so sorry. That was a masterclass in projection. And to watch it back was like, I don't want to be melodramatic, but it's so uncomfortable to see one's own behaviours that one has never seen before and how easy it was for me to, instead of going, I'm anxious, I don't know why you've frozen, why are you leaving the room? Like Andy laughed with me last night. He goes, did it bring up your abandonment issues? And I go, actually, I think it did.
I think it did now that you explain it that way.
Right? And then instead of going, oh, now I'm distressed, instead of going there, I went straight to, you're obsessed with getting stuff right, which I was. You're not listening to me. And now we've got to coach you. Now we've seen your issues. And I'm like, oh, like that emoji. I actually put it on the comment on the post once we posted the once I posted the Friday 50/50, I put it as a comment below and said, Danielle, I've just seen how I projected on you. Gross.
Isn't that fascinating? Isn't that fascinating? And I think this is one of those, I know you hate this as well, Brene moments where...
Well, I hate her because she's so successful.
She's so right. Where what was the story for you and what was the story for me? And they're 2 fucking different stories.
Yeah, so what was your
from
story?
my story, I was like, I have been meaning to do something about that doorbell.
Yeah.
Since we opened the studio, it's been on my to-do list. And we luckily haven't had anyone press it in the middle of the thing. So
Yeah.
I was thinking how unprofessional
Right.
of me that runs a studio at their home that hasn't freaking figured out how to mute the doorbell.
Yeah.
So I was really focused on I've ruined Tam's podcast, and then the bloody delivery guy
Wouldn't stop.
freaking pressing
Wouldn't
it, because I
stop.
thought, oh, you press it once, we'll pause and we'll just keep going.
Right.
But no, he was like, so that's how I shot out of the room. I'm in like panic mode,
Yes.
thinking, oh my God, I've stuffed up Tam's podcast. I wasn't thinking about, well, I was thinking about you, but not really. I was thinking about
course.
how unprofessional the
Yeah,
studio
right.
looked.
Like, hang on.
And that was my immediate reaction. We can't put it up because it makes the studio look unprofessional.
Yeah.
So again, I wasn't thinking about, I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
I thought the whole thing was funny.
Yeah.
Like when we came back in and we were laughing.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought everything that you said to me was funny. Like I didn't see.
Oh, there you go.
I didn't see that at all. But I think that's the way. Well, no, I trust you as
Yes.
a person.
Yes.
Even if you were snippy with me or anything,
Yeah.
I would never actually give that any credence
Right.
because I just care about you so much
Okay.
that I would just always assume that you would be there for me like I'm there for you. So
Yeah.
it wouldn't even occur to me to actually take what you said seriously because
Yeah.
that's just who I am.
So the reason
yeah.
to trust me is that I've recognised what I did and I'm coming clean about it, right? But in that moment, I was a complete projecting asshole.
Yeah, see, I didn't see
And you
as
can
an
really
arsehole.
see it. You
Yeah.
can really
It's
see
'cause
it.
I love you so much I can't see your assholeness.
Wow. I think it was very clear. I think it was very
Now that
clear.
you've explained it to me though, I'm like, wow.
I didn't know it was happening myself. I was
Yeah.
absolutely clear as a bell that I had every right to say what you needed and how you needed to improve and what you were being triggered by. But it's so interesting to watch the two. So you feel like I totally understand. I've got a professional studio and the doorbell's just rang. But do you know what's so interesting? Like this is fantastic for two different people's point of view. The doorbell ringing didn't worry me at all. Like
yeah.
maybe
No.
0 out of 100.
No.
So I'm not worried about the doorbell, but then when you froze and left,
Yeah.
that's what triggered me. So then I become the projecting, you know what? Isn't that interesting? And you're like, oh, this looks unprofessional.
Professional, yeah.
So you go, oh, no, let's not put it up because I'll look unprofessional. I don't realise how bad I've been. So I say, let's put it up.
Let's put it up.
And then once it's public, I go,
Whoa.
oh.
Fascinating.
Fascinating.
Really fascinating.
But it was, I don't know.
two different experiences of the same experience.
Yeah, and most people's experience aren't videoed.
For us to play back and pause
Yeah,
and
because it was
analyse.
what a lesson for me. I had no idea I was doing it. When I watched it back the first time, I didn't get it. When I watched it back the second time, I started to feel suspicious. By the time I watched it back the third time, I was like, oh my God. Like, I'm really sorry. Like, I'm really sorry that I did that. But also, I feel really like embarrassed that
Really?
that part, I didn't even realise I had, and I said to Andy last night, because I shared it with him and I said, oh, cringe, man, like what an asshole. And he goes, I said, you'll probably say, oh, yeah, I know about this part of you. Because, of course, I will have done it to him
Yes.
a lot. I will have flipped a story and go, you're this or that.
Yeah.
But, I could just keep saying sorry because I feel
Oh,
terrible.
no, don't. Oh.
I know. But I don't want you to be like, yeah, I'm okay because I'm not worried by those
Didn't
sorts
even,
of things.
like, if you hadn't mentioned anything, wouldn't have even occurred to me.
Okay. Well, part of me is like, why on earth are we talking about this? I feel so uncomfortable. And part of me is like, well, this is what you said you wanted to do.
Yeah, 50-50.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because I think that observation you've made about your own behaviour is helpful for others.
I hope so.
And exploration of patterns has been extraordinarily helpful for me.
Yeah.
Like when I get this way and I'm feeling threatened and I'm feeling whatever, what do I do?
Yeah, what do I do?
These things, and I do these things over and over again.
Yeah.
Like different trigger, same response.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
once you get to know what that is for you, when the words are coming out of your mouth, you're like, oh, I'm doing that thing.
I'm doing that thing.
What's actually going on here? So it's really helpful.
I hope so. That's why I wanted to share it, one, because I felt bad, but mainly it was because, people could see this in action. They could see what I did in action. We've literally got the tape. And you go, look at what this woman's doing. And she has no idea. She's just judgy-budgy Like this is all about Danielle, not about the doorbell ringing, but about what had triggered me.
Yeah.
So now there's a teachable moment, right?
Well, yeah.
Well, have you heard of the Johari window?
No.
Okay, so the Johari window sounds very mystical and amazing, but it's actually because two fellows, Joe and Harry, came up with it. Which I always think ruins the magic.
mysticism,
Yeah,
yeah.
mysticism, that's the right word. So there's 4 quadrants. Many people will know it. It's quite a common training tool. And in the Johari window, you've got the open quadrant, and that means I know it about me and you know it about me, right? So we both know I'm wearing this dress. We both know I've got my pink shoes on. We both know I've got red hair, etc. Then you've got below that, you've got the hidden quadrant. So I know it about me, but you don't. So what I would do with the hidden quadrant is if I saw that tape and realised what I'd done but didn't share it, I would now hiddenly know I'm a projector, but I don't want to tell you or anyone else, right? Then you've got the, so you imagine as I'm describing this, so it starts with kind of top left open, bottom left hidden, bottom right unknown. You don't know it about me and I don't know it about me. So it's like in the unconscious. That's where eureka moments can come from, where you go, oh, that's why you do that or I do that, or right? That's quite a good quadrant. It's quite fun. But the one we're dealing with in this awkwardness for me is the blind quadrant. So it's where I can't see something about me and something comes out that shows me it. And it can often be extremely uncomfortable, cause a lot of what they call cognitive dissonance and mess with, it's actually Peter Slocum's term, preferred self-view. How do we like to see ourselves? And in the blind quadrant, something can come out and it messes with our preferred self-view, and then our ego, our amygdala, our protective systems want to make sure no one finds out, or will argue even stronger that that's not true.
Yeah.
So let's say it happened a different way, because I want this to be a teachable moment. Yeah. Let's say I do what I do, but instead of me realising it, you realise it.
Yeah.
Okay? We come back on here, and because we talk about stuff on here, and you say, hey, Tam, did you know when the doorbell went, did you see when I rewatched the video, I realised you were projecting on me?
Yeah.
It wasn't about me. It was about you. Yeah. You felt anxious. You felt abandoned, whatever, right? Now imagine that I hadn't thought of it myself and you tell me it and I go, what? I don't think so. So you can imagine for most people that first response, particularly because I didn't even know what I'd done, would be, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
So super simple example. Years and years ago, I had a different boyfriend before Andy, and he once said to me, you can be so negative, right? And I was quite different back then in many ways, particularly around my emotional regulation. But I just hit the roof when he said that. I was like, I am not negative. That's the last thing I am. I'm one of the most positive people. And just was a nutcase. And the reason I was a nutcase is 2 things. One, he'd absolutely clashed with my preferred self-view of being positive. And secondly, he was right. He was right. And my ego and my amygdala and my wanting to look good was, I'm going to die on this hill. Yeah. We are not admitting to be negative. Yeah. And once I calmed down a bit, and I think it took me quite a while, this is a very long time ago, so I don't have the exact info, but once I calmed down a bit and went, could that be right? And I started to see, even in conversations with friends or colleagues, I could skew things quite negative. I could tell a sob story about myself. I could actually be quite negative, and certainly internally I could be quite negative. Like I shared about can't handle Andy whinging because I realise I'm whinging to myself all the time. But I didn't want to see myself this way. So, you know, when we had lovely Kim, whose episode's about to come out, she says her preferred self-view is positive and happy. And so if she feels she's not that, it's really hard to be with it. And that was the case with me. So at ending the teachable moment, open, we already know it. Hidden is what we're willing to share with others. So we open up, we create relationship by willing to say, oh, I didn't realise I did this, but I'm actually a projector. So what I shared today was sharing part of my, what I hoped would be my hidden quadrant. Just a tip for the wise, if you want your hidden quadrant to say hidden, don't put it on video and publish it. I blame Grayson as much as me.
I'm thinking that you could take that teachable moment to the next level and pop that clip up on your next talk and just, you know.
I was going to put it up on LinkedIn. It might be good for my, I don't know, I've got to think about what the subject is for my next talk. Not next week, the week after, I'm speaking at Women in Leadership.
It's like observing your own behaviour
I know,
stuff and interpreting it too. The interpretation's hard. That's why you need a coach.
I think I might
Big fan of
actually.
coaching.
Wow, that's it. It's handy being one's own coach. It's, of course, much harder for me often to coach myself than other people. It'd be great if I could go whoop and bring the me that needs coaching out, you know, and then go, right, Tamara, let's talk. It could be good at a talk. I actually want it to be the most useful. And I'll have a think about it because I was going to put it up as a clip on LinkedIn with a discussion, but I don't know if enough people will see it that way. It might be better at a presentation. God, now I'm using it more and more publicly.
Because it's a real...
Here's Tamara.
It's a real examination of psychology and how people work and how brains work.
And the twofold story is wonderful. The twofold story, your suffering and my suffering, and how we played that out in the moment. Yeah, very, very interesting. And here endeth the lesson because I can't handle feeling shit for any longer. Thank you for accepting my apology or saying I didn't
And
need
I'm
to.
saying no apology necessary because I was so wrapped up in my own drama, I didn't even notice yours.
You can watch the video back if you want to see it. Don't watch that video
I
anymore,
laughed
Danielle.
at it. I thought it was funny.
Look, the thing I felt happy about was the way we wrapped it up meant that even though I did what I did, we came back together and ended kumbaya. So I was like, all right, it ended up all right. You know?
It was almost like, you know, those comedians that, you know, even if they're being nasty, it's still funny. Like, you know, like that's kind of what I thought about
it wasn't
But I didn't
funny.
think it was nasty.
No.
I just thought you were being funny.
No, I was just picking on me via you.
I think that's why I have such a pleasant experience of the world is that I don't notice a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Probably negative towards me, but I'm like, oh yeah.
Well, the beauty about that approach is nothing is ever about you, ever. So if I'm behaving whatever way, it's never about you. That's a human psychology thing. When people get upset about how people are behaving with them, you go, hang on, that's not about me. That's about you.
Yeah.
The reaction is about the person having it, not the other person. Because, of course, it doesn't matter what happens in here. My reaction is going to be my reaction.
Yeah.
And yours is going to be yours and Grayson's going to be his if he's listening.
Oh, he's laughing. He's laughing.
I was wondering if you were going to check. I was wondering if you were going to check. So I'm looking at my notes now. So I said, I came here sad, but you ruined it by being happy.
Yay.
I'd had a trifecta of stuff going on which had worried me, and I'm clinging on to that. I like the pain. Yeah. I could probably just let it go now. Maybe do another one of my Stephen Bodians on the way from here to my next thing. I've decided that the new trifecta is going to start. So the first trifecta had the 3 components, pretty obvious, but now I've decided that was painful. Now let's do the new trifecta. And we've already had we've had 2 of actually we've had all 3 because, because what happened was I put my tea on the roof and drove out my very windy, steep driveway, got up on, it had no lid on it, got up onto the road and went, no, my tea, because I'd forgotten to, I'd woken up 10 minutes before we came here, so I hadn't made my coffee. My tea was everything, and I got out expecting to see just like tea all over the roof and no cup, and I got out the car and the tea was sitting on top of the roof with 2 tiny splashes.
Betsy.
Love you. I was worried about her too because I thought, what's the tea going to do to this? Betsy? Betsy's the car, of course. For those of you on YouTube.
Tam's holding up her Mercedes mug again.
And love heart symbol.
It's all about Betsy. Betsy held onto that tea for you. She wasn't going to let you down.
She did. Yeah. So that was number 1. Yeah. Then number 2 was someone very close to me in my life has had chronic pain for a long time, very terrible chronic pain. Had a procedure a couple of days ago and it's looking like everything crossed, touching wood, it may have worked. And I don't have final confirmation on that, but if it does, it will be literally life-changing for this person. And a bit like we were talking about upstairs before we started, whilst no one else is our responsibility, I actually didn't even realise until last night when I was telling Annie, I said, this happened and that happened. And he goes, I think you're actually really worried about this other thing, which is the one I'm referring to now.
Yes.
Do you know when you do
I do that all the time.
Isn't that tricky, that one?
I do that all the time. That is one of my biggest things, and it's not till I go and do a spirit guidance or something that it goes, oh, you're actually worried about this, and I'm like, oh,
it's always a surprise, even though I think I'm so self-aware. Well, this whole conversation showed how little I am, but no, clearly not. But, I came back from over east and I said to Andy, I don't know why I feel this sort of grief from being home. I can't recognise what it is. And he said, do you think it's because you stuffed up seeing your friend and you missed them? And I went, of course it is. Like within 1 second, I was like, of course that's what's wrong.
Yeah.
But hadn't even touched on it for myself. Didn't even occur to me that could be.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so that was the first of the trifecta. Then the second one was this person hopefully going to be well, which is literally like black and white. It's really polar what it'll be in terms of good and bad. And then the third thing was arriving in the way you answer the door. Yay! And then I felt happy and then I felt all loved and good and sitting here. Yay. So that's the 3. So that's good. So we'll just say that we're on an upward trajectory. Andy also said to me last night, you could also be in a hormonal phase again, and I think he's tragically right. So boring. I don't want to talk about that, but we know that story. Okay, 2 final things. One was that it's been 4.5 hours, but, Andy and I went to see Mark Manson the other night, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Or is it the subtle? I think it's the subtle art of not giving a fuck. So Mark Manson's an American fellow. I've followed him for years. I asked him to be on here when he came to Perth. Really surprisingly, no one got back to me. So he's a New York Times best-selling author. It's really illogical what happened there. But anyway, these things happen. So anyway, we go and see him, and it was actually much more exciting to see him walk out on stage than I thought it would be.
Really?
Yeah, because I followed him really a lot years and years ago. You know how people call to you at different times?
Yes.
And a few years ago, he was my guy. Like everything he wrote, everything I read, I was like, Mark, you're the best. And then it wasn't that he went off the boil. It was that what I was learning wasn't so much of a match anymore, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then when he came to Perth, I was like, I don't know if I want to see Mark. I haven't followed him for a while. But then Andy said, I've been following him on YouTube. And then they half-priced the tickets.
Oh.
So I was like, well. Anyway, I asked a question.
Yes.
So he did a slideshow presentation with quite sexy slides. Of course, he's got staff and graphic designers and everything. They were good slides. They had a very sort of religious, dystopian, dramatic feel. So he'd have quite simple stuff at the front, but then he'd have this dramatic slide at the back. And he has a lovely laugh, actually. And anyway, it was fun and interesting. And he did his talk and we got useful stuff out of that. And then he said, after the break, we're going to do Q&A. And what I'd been thinking about was I have thought about a couple of people I've known recently, and they're pretty much the most caring, loving people I know, these 2 people I'm thinking of, and they have virtually no self-esteem. They feel terrible about themselves.
Yes, I know people.
Do you? They just, it's like I said in my question to him, I said, it's like the love comes through them and nothing sticks on the inside of them.
Yes.
It all just goes through and out.
Yes.
And all that's left in them is the gap.
Yes.
So he put up a slide by his favourite guy, which I'll have to reference in the show notes. I think he called him on the slide Big Daddy Wallace, but that was because he'd said his real name prior. And the line was, evil people don't think they're evil, they think everyone else is. Evil people don't think they're evil, they think everyone else is. Actually, probably a good theme for what we were discussing before. Then as he goes to walk away from the slide, he says, and I think that's probably true in reverse for good people. Perfect match for my question. So after the Q&A, as you know, I'm a mover and shaker. I'm like, I don't want to be at the back of the line, so I'm crawling over people in intermission to get to the microphone, and I was probably second or third in line.
Nice.
I had a 16 and a 15-year-old in front of me. I know, I was like, let's go. And had a 16-year-old in front of me, 15-year-old in front of me. He answers their questions. There's another queue over the other side. It's at the concert hall. Did I tell you I want to have an event at the concert hall?
No.
That's the goal. I love the concert hall. We did it for high school. I got ducks of school. We sang the choir, concert hall, and the backstage area is really a lovely place for me. Anyway, so I say to Mark Manson, hi, Mark. He'd already told us, don't tell us your life story and don't tell me you like my work. Thank you. I assume you do.
Otherwise you wouldn't be here.
You wouldn't be here. Like, don't blow smoke and don't tell me your life story. So I said, hi, Mark. And, of course, as soon as I started talking, my voice got shaky. I was like, God damn it. I said, so you had the slide about evil and evil, and then you made a throwaway line about good versus good. My question to you is, I've been thinking about this topic the last couple of days. I know people that are wonderful, loving, make such a difference to other people. But I said exactly what I just said to you. I said, it's like the love comes through them. They're a conduit and none of it sticks on the inside of them. What do you think this is? And I don't remember a word he said in reply. Yes, I do. The reason I thought I couldn't hear anything else is because at the end he said, I'm with you. And because I'm super needy and want to be seen, I was like, Mark Manson's with me. It was like a spiritual moment. I mentioned it to Andy 4 times on the way home. Mark Manson's with me. He goes, that's good, love. And I go, he said he was with me. And he's like, yep, he is, I'm sure. Even though he referred to me as the woman that asked that other question several times after. Andy said, well, he referred to you as well by the woman. He didn't say old woman, so that's good. Anyway, he did. I remember part of what he said. So he said, yeah, I totally get what you're saying. I'm not 100% sure why that happens. But he said, look, there's an element of neuroses in people that are very strong carers, right? They have to care. That's where they get their identity. But he said also, I think it's just one of those, and this is paraphrasing, of course, is one of those kind of ironies in life where sometimes people that are the most loving, because their attention is so outwards, there's kind of, they don't realise some needs to be given to them as well. And then he probably said other stuff, but I was too distracted by the I'm with you.
And Andy didn't record it for you?
No, I don't think
big
it ever.
moment?
No, there was
Come
big
on.
signs saying don't
no
record.
video.
And you know what? My good girl
course.
thing was there because 2 people arrived late, interrupted everything. They didn't see the signs saying not to record. So that lady took a picture of every slide, which is what I wanted to do, but I was there early, so I knew I wasn't allowed to. I wanted to do that thing on the back of her head, flicker on the back of the head and go, oi. Listen, not only were you late, but there was big signs saying not to take photos.
Yeah. We have that in
or
common.
can you send
Follow
me
the
your
rules.
photos?
Rules must be followed.
I should have
Rules
followed.
must be followed.
I was not creative enough. I should have said to her, send me your photos. 2 things. 1, you weren't meant to take any. And 2, here's my number. God damn it. That would have been so much because I really wanted the slides. And I said to Andy, I really wanted the slides. And he said, don't worry, it'll be in all his stuff already.
that you have
I'm
to
like, yeah, but I
buy.
don't want to collate.
Yeah.
Sorry, Grayson, touch the mic. Final thing, I think.
You know, it doesn't work when you're talking into the glass.
Oh, Grayson just gave me this look. What do you mean? What do you mean, Grayson? Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about. Final thing. So what do you think of this, right? I got a message from on LinkedIn.
I'm too scared to look at Grayson.
No, he's already given me a really withering look.
Look at the dictionary.
He pressed buttons. Oh, no. He pressed buttons, Tam. He could have changed your voice and put sound effects on there.
He just gave me the cheekiest
Grayson's
look.
Revenge. Sound effects.
Absolute cheekiest look. And
What is he doing? His hands are moving. His hands are
losing it
moving.
laughing.
Hands are moving.
He's losing it laughing.
So I have no idea what's going to happen now. But Grayson, stop it. Last time I referred to you as my boss, but now you're my staff.
Put a sound effect on it, Grayson.
I hope you've already been and done that, Grayson. Hopefully these 4 minutes aren't me doing that. Okay, so I got this message from a fellow that works out of LA and yeah, he must promote podcasts, but he has 40,000 followers.
Okay.
So I don't know what it is, and I don't know whether there's any reality to it, but I liked his global element being in LA, like how I want to go with Kim to work in the US.
Yeah.
I would say she doesn't know that, but I literally mentioned it on the podcast.
Yeah.
And then he's in LA and he's got lots of followers. He used to work for Tesla.
Yeah.
And I think, why not think big?
Yes. Well, earlier when you were talking about the concert hall, I was like, yeah, let's do a podcast panel discussion at the concert hall.
Yeah. I want to have
Sell
something
out.
at the concert hall. That's concert hall is one thing, and I want to do the 10-year celebration for Discern, which is in a couple of years. I want to do it in the hall in the museum with Otto the whale skeleton,
Right. Yes.
because that's very beautiful and elegant.
Oh, yeah.
I want to do that, and then I'll have to put a timeline on it. Create the miracle of something at the concert hall.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
something
let's
at the
do that.
concert hall. That'd be very cool. That'd be very cool. Yeah, how exciting. But yeah, to wrap up today, I feel like, ironically, after saying how terrible I realised I was, I actually think bigger is going to be better. Let's just go for it.
Oh, 100%.
Right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Agree. Woo!
Thanks for making me feel better when I arrived and ongoingly.
Thanks for coming to play.
I really appreciate you. And you too, Grayson. Thank you.